Now that we've taken some steps into understanding some fundamental basics of Rainbow Six Siege, we can now focus on improving your skill set to make you a better player in the next part of our Understanding Siege series, The Next Steps. No! Once we've understood the fundamental basics of Rainbow Six Siege, you've played situations, you've played Terrorist Hunt, and perhaps you've even gotten into playing some casual. You may be asking yourself, how do I get better at this game? And that's what these next steps aim to do. They can be summarized in 3 very simple steps: operators, intel, and map knowledge. We will now break down each one of these steps so that you can better understand how to increase your skill set in Rainbow Six Siege and to be a better asset to your team. So our first category is operators. What I mean by this is I want you to pay specific attention to how your operators work and to try to use them to the best of their ability. In Rainbow Six Siege, there exists a certain synergy between operators where certain operators complement each other and other operators counter each other. It is important to note that you do not need to pick the exact operators that I tell you about in this section. However, it is useful to understand how these operators work, and the operators that I will mention next are useful in practically every single scenario, so you don't need to take my word as written law, but just know that the next operators that we're going to talk about for attack and defense are incredibly useful. We begin this time on the defensive side of things with Bandit. Bandit is invaluable in stopping the attackers and pushing through reinforcements, or in general slowing them down with his use of his 3 barbed wires. Bandit is particularly useful on maps where there are large, reinforceable exterior walls, wherein if the enemy team does not bring somebody to take out your batteries, they will likely be unable to push through that reinforced wall. Additionally, Bandit is very useful for taking out gadgets. If you place one of his batteries on barbed wire, it will instantly destroy anything that comes into contact with it. Additionally, it will deal small amounts of damage to any operators who try to push through it. If you place this barbed wire at the bottom of a barricade and electrify it, it can make it very difficult for drones to get onto the objective, and it can make it very difficult for operators to push through onto the objective without you hearing them. Additionally, Bandit's MP7 is widely regarded as one of the best submachine guns in the game. In general, Bandit is a very strong pick, and he can be very useful when trying to stop opponents pushing through reinforcements, or when trying to slow their progress by electrifying barbed wire. However, Bandit is not exactly incredibly useful on all objectives. You can make him work if you pick barbed wire with him, but there are some instances where other operators will be better. But, in general, most of the times you can't go wrong with picking Bandit. So our next important defender is Mute. Mute is very similar to Bandit in the sense that he's useful for stopping attackers from getting through reinforced objects. However, Mute is far better suited to denying the attacking team intel. Mute's jammers, which he has 4 of, are better used to stop drones from finding the objective, or getting close, and preventing the attacking team from really getting a pinpoint location on where you are. Mute's jammers essentially stop everything that is controlled remotely, whether it be drones, breaching charges, Thermite's exothermic charges, Fuse's cluster charges, and anything that's detonated remotely in general. Mute's jammers will not stop Ash's breaching rounds or Ying's candelas, as those are self-detonated. Mute's jammers are best placed in high-traffic drone areas or areas where you don't want the attackers to push through or have intel. You can place Mute's jammers under windows to prevent Fuse from using his cluster charges, or you can place him at the tops of staircases to stop drones from coming up. Don't get me wrong, you can still put Mute's jammers on reinforced walls to stop attackers from coming through. Bandit is just better suited to doing so, and a great combination is to use the 2 of them. To use Bandit to stop attackers from coming through reinforcements, and to use Mute to stop the enemy from gathering intel. Additionally, Mute's weapons are very good. He's given access to the MP5K, which is very similar to the MP5 given to Doc and Rook. If you're familiar with the MP5, you'll be familiar with the MP5K. It handles very similarly, although of note, you cannot add an ACOG onto the MP5K as of yet. Overall, Mute is a fantastic operator and you really can't go wrong picking him. As long as you know how to use him, you can make him work on any map, in any objective, in any situation. And using him in conjunction with Bandit makes it very hard for the enemies to push onto the objective. And now we move on to the attacking side of things, and we begin with my favorite attacker, Thermite. Thermite's ability allows him to open up reinforced walls. It's as simple as that. However, I would be doing a disservice if I just left it for you there. In case you didn't notice, the two defending operators that we just talked about, that being Bandit and Mute, are designed solely to stop you from getting onto the objective and opening up reinforced walls. Thermite is incredibly valuable, and therefore you are a target. While playing Thermite, you should always be cautious to try and stay alive to a point where you and your team can push up to the objective and it allows you to open up reinforced walls. If you die before this, you are essentially useless to your team. The entire point of Thermite revolves around you opening up reinforced walls or hatches. However, if you manage to progress to the point where you can open up a reinforced wall or hatch, you are now essential in turning the tide of the round, as you have opened up a wall or a hatch that the defenders didn't expect to have to watch, and you may be able to take some people by surprise, purely because they didn't know that that angle was there. Thermite is best used on maps with large exterior reinforceable walls, such as Hereford Base, Clubhouse, or Border. If you can open up a large exterior wall, you are using your exothermic charge the best. However, you can still use it to open up hatches, but since you're only given 2, you're best to leave that to Hibana. Thermite's 5.56 assault rifle has a slower rate of fire but good damage per bullet. Overall, it's very controllable and it's one of my favorite assault rifles in the game. Thermite is a fantastic operator for opening up new lines of sight and getting rid of reinforcements. However, you'll notice I haven't mentioned that, of course, you will naturally run into lots of counters for Thermite. So, this is where my next operator comes into play. Our next important operator is Thatcher. Thatcher has 3 EMP grenades that disable all electronics, be them nitro cells, bandit batteries, mute jammers, Jaeger ADS, you name it. If it's electronic, Thatcher's EMP will disable it. This is what makes Thatcher so great. He is incredibly versatile. He can be used to take out bandits' batteries or mute's jammers to allow Thermite to open up a wall, or he can be used to take out Capcan's EDDs, LS concussion mines, Legion's goo mines, or anything electronic. In general, if you have a Thatcher and a Thermite, there's not much that can theoretically get in your way. As long as Thatcher has EMPs and he can clear bandit batteries or mute jammers, he can allow Thermite to open up a wall, and that is invaluable. Overall, Thatcher is incredibly useful in his utility for clearing electronic devices, whether it be traps, bandit batteries, mute jammers, or cameras. Thatcher is incredibly useful. As well, he has very strong weapons. Whether you choose the AR-33 or the LAD-5A2, you can't go wrong either way. Thatcher is incredibly useful, and when used in combination with Thermite, they are a force to be reckoned with. So now that we have learned that we can use operators to work together on both attack and defense for a better outcome, we can move on to making our skills better. And an important way to do this in Rainbow Six Siege is through understanding the value of intelligence. Whether you're on attack and you're using your drones, or you're on defense and you're using cameras, having intelligence is an invaluable resource. On attack, the best advice that I can give is to try and keep your drone alive during the preparation phase. If you can keep your drone alive during the preparation phase and hide it sufficiently, you can potentially have 2 drones. Another piece of advice is to use your drones as often as possible. There's no point in breaking down a barricade, running through a door, and getting shot in the back, when you could have taken 10 extra seconds to send a drone in there, see if it's clear, and then proceed to move safely. Additionally, if you do find somebody on your drone, try to refrain from tagging them, as the moment the enemy is notified that they are being spotted, they will likely shoot your drone and you have now lost a valuable resource. Instead, if you know that somebody is there, park your drone somewhere close by where you can still watch them, yet they will not know that they're tagged and you still have the advantage of knowing where they are. Likewise, if you are dead or you are observing somebody else's drone, please refrain from tagging on them, as this will likely get their drone destroyed and they may be trying to hide it for later use. Likewise, on defense, use the cameras to gather as much intel as possible. Although on defense, it's more likely that the cameras will be shot out faster, as most people know where the camera placements are on the maps. However, you can still gain valuable intel from them, but just refrain from spotting on them as much as you can, as this increases the likelihood that an attacker will take it out. On defense, you may have to rely more on the sounds that you hear around you, and you may have to be able to convey these to your teammates somehow, which is why in my first video I highly recommend that you have a headset. It will not only let you hear those sounds better, but you will actually be able to convey that intel to your teammates. However, spotting on a drone or a camera does have its place in Rainbow Six Siege. For example, if it's coming down to the end of a match and you need to absolutely let somebody know that somebody is there, it would be acceptable to spot on a drone or a camera. It's just more situational in its use. However, with you gathering more intel, you'll be able to understand the flow of the maps, and this leads nicely into my next point, which is map knowledge. For gaining map knowledge on attack, pay particular attention to where the cameras are located, both outside and inside the buildings, as the sooner that you deny the enemy's intel, the less of a chance there is that they will be able to pinpoint your location, and the more element of surprise you have, therefore the higher chance that you will be able to take out more opponents. Also, on attack, pay particular attention to the objective locations and where defenders like to hang out around the objectives. Try and learn where defenders will sit and wait for you to come in, so that you can learn how to counter these common defending spots. In general, on attack, recognize where the objective is, and attack that objective where you yourself on defense wouldn't expect attackers to come from. Use your drones to clear out surrounding rooms to ensure there aren't any defenders in your way, and make your push to the objective. As well, remember to use the operator synergy that we mentioned before. Use Thatcher to clear any electronic devices, and use Thermite to open up reinforced walls where the enemies won't expect it to be coming from. Use Claymores to block off popular defender rotation areas, and you'll almost be ensured success as long as you work together with your team. Another important tool for map knowledge on defense is learning how to reinforce properly. When you first start out the game, it might seem most beneficial to run to the first wall that you see and reinforce it to get your 10 points. However, on most maps this is not true. Take this example here on Hereford Base. If we run up to the first wall that we see on the 3rd floor supply closet and reinforce it, we have left a large exterior outside wall unreinforced, which makes it very easy for the attackers to open it up and peek in. Therefore, we should reinforce that exterior wall first, and leave the inside walls on the objective either untouched or wait for a teammate to come and reinforce it. There are other examples where proper reinforcement is very important, such as kid's bedroom on house, where you shouldn't reinforce it at all, but don't worry, as these things will come with time, as you come to understand the maps and you know where the attackers will be coming from, you will learn how to reinforce properly. In general, on defense, for gaining map knowledge, check your cameras and pay attention to where the attackers are coming from. But remember, you're the one defending. You don't have to attack the attackers. Just wait for them to come to you. So for now, it's probably best to just hang out on the objective or in a room near the objective and see how the attackers try to attack the objective that you're on. From observing how they attack the objective, you can learn how you should be countering their attacks. Another important tip, regardless of whether you're on attack or defense, is to try to learn the map callouts as early as you possibly can. What I mean by callouts is, at the bottom of the screen there is a compass, and right beside that compass there is a little description of exactly where you are on the map, whether it's staircase or barbecue or first floor hallway or something along those lines, just a little callout for the area that you are. To learn the callouts for when your teammates say, for example, there's a guy in first floor barbecue on skyscraper, this is incredible information, as if you know the callouts, you know the general area where your teammates are talking about. This can be difficult, so try to pay attention to it, and we will go into each of the maps in depth, and we can talk about each of the callouts there. And this will conclude our next steps tutorial. I know that our section on map knowledge wasn't exactly the most in-depth, but don't worry, as I will be going through each map on attack and defense for each objective and how you should be defending and attacking each objective. This will help you gain more map knowledge for each specific map, but I just felt like I should give you some very basic pointers on map knowledge. In the coming weeks, we will be talking about more advanced topics, as well as recoil control and what the different muzzle attachments do for your weapons and how to best control your recoil. As well, as previously mentioned, we will be going through each of the maps to help you understand them better. I hope that this tutorial helped you at least understand some more intermediate concepts about Rainbow Six Siege. I hope to build your skill set so you can at least be comfortable playing the game after this and not feel like you're completely lost. Stay tuned for more episodes in the next coming weeks, and I will catch you guys in the next video.